Hey, that's fine. And I guess what, Lorne drove off with his truck?
No, he didn't get, no.
Okay.
He didn't get that, no. Like I said, he was smarter than the rest of us.
Yeah.
He went, and he got what he expected, nothing.
Okay. So I wonder if Lorne ever got his truck.
Yeah, he kept the vehicle. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Roger that. Now you mentioned that whenever Lorne was first coming to your house, that he needed a ride, that somebody had to bring him. Did you ever find out why that? Is that because his truck was down and the mechanic was fixing it and he didn't have his truck? Is that the occasion for that? Who would bring him to your house? Do you know?
Oh, they came in Tony's van. The times that Tony was working with him, I believe it was his sister's car that they came in the first time.
Okay, I got you. Okay, now let's flesh this out a little bit.
Places, because he had that DUI where he ran into that house. Maybe generally, I don't know what the law is in Maine, but you lose your license in Rhode Island for 3 or 6 months. So maybe that was the time when he didn't have a license too. But I don't believe he had a car. I think he said he didn't have a vehicle.
Okay. Do you know anything about that, the DUI or the OUI incident, beyond what we all know, what you've just said? I mean, okay.
I know he did have to. He had to spend one night in Skowhegan jail.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Wow. Okay. Now, when Lorne, I want to flesh out this.
He had to take a day off.
Yeah, he had to take a day off from his days off, right? Yeah. He had to hang out and smoke cigarettes in jail instead of in your yard. Unbelievable. Now let's flesh this guy out a little bit. When you first met him, what, to the best of your memory, I know it's been a long time ago. What was your first impression of him before the folks around you were giving their warnings, and before you had any reason to believe that he was questionable or nefarious? What was your first impression of him? How did he present? Was he, I know you said that he was a prolific chatter. Was he, I mean, how did he come across? How was he dressed? What did he smell like? I mean, was he, was he a nice guy? Did he seem like, just another guy? Or
he was pretty. He was very pretty.
I didn't know you were setting me up. I said, I can't imagine anybody's ever described Lorne as pretty except maybe his mother. Well,
I've been trying to get that in this. I figure this is my only chance.
No. As many of them as you take them all day.
He seems to be a nice enough guy, but please keep this in mind. I'm an awful judge of character. I have been burned by people.
Well,
because I trust.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I believe what people say to me because I think, why would you lie?
Right.
I always see. My mother was Italian, and I had lying beaten on. Don't touch a child. Well, you lie, you get beaten.
Yeah.
You get a licking, as they call it.
Sure.
And I learned right from the very get-go as a child that it's better to own up than to lie. Because my mom would say to me, you lie, and you have to lie again to cover it up, and tell another lie, and tell another lie. And unless you have a damn good memory, you're not gonna make it.
Yep.
You're gonna be found out. And I have a horrible memory, so I figured, hey, just
tell the truth.
Yeah, I did it. It's my fault. So I've always been honest. There's no reason to fabricate. I am who I am, and that's it. So
yeah.
I don't expect anyone else to be that way, but they are.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it.
For those of you who are out there who are still on the fence about why those of us who hate Lorne, you're listening to it.
No, and I mean this man that I feel like. You're gullible, you're stupid, but then here's this man that's a college professor, and he gets sucked in too.
Yeah.
So, at least I'm in good company.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And Eric was like me too. He what you see is what you get. I am this person.
Yeah.
You like me or you don't.
Yeah.
And There's no airs. There's no nothing. This is it. Straightforward.
As it should be.
Everyone else to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, how much better would the world be, you know?
But yeah, I have friends. I have a very good friend who is straightforward, is not a liar, never lies. But he has the ability to step back and analyze. And I always thought I was pretty analytical when it came to figuring out situations. But with people, I'm not good. Apparently, I'm not good.
It's like anything else. You can't see it unless you've dealt with it. In other words, if you met a Lorne today, I think you would know. I don't think you would make those same judgments like you did back then. But as we've talked about already, it was under perfectly reasonable auspices. You had no reason to second guess the guy. You found his information legitimately, and he sold himself. He's probably, or at least was at that time, decently good at lying to people and scamming people. But that's how scammers make a living. You know, they're good at it.
Right, and it had to be maybe more than that, because I shouldn't say had to be, but I would say...
I would imagine, I mean...
That's because if the townspeople are all saying, hey, you know...
Yeah, exactly right. And not only that, but this was a business... obviously, this is something they had been doing long enough to be able to make a business out of it, and there's always been talk in the Lornography community about what were Lorne's, what did he do with himself? I mean, we know what he was doing when he was 35, 36 years old, and we know that he was in the service, or assuming he's not lying about that. But, you know, you got a lot of years there where we don't really have any information about what he was doing. So it seems reasonable to at least suspect, if not conclude outright, that he was doing this kind of thing. And what's curious about it is that $30,000 is not a small sum of money. God knows, $30,500. $20,000 from this professor is not a small sum of money. Where in the world is all this money going? He can't even pay to get his truck fixed. We assume that I assume, unless you have information that confirms this, that some of that money went toward that truck that he had in Bowling Green, or when he was in that film.
That's my assumption. I mean, he didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a vehicle, so I'm assuming he bought that truck.
Yeah.
Most likely. With our money.
It certainly seems like that would have been the case.
That's why I think that was the first thing I ever said. Hey, that's my truck that you're driving.
So when you first met him, when he first came out and you had your first dealings with him, did y'all ever talk music? I mean, obviously we know what his musical background is, or lack of, and now we know a little bit more about yours and how you had this real band, a legitimate band established in the community. And did y'all ever talk music? Did he ever talk about singing with you?
No, he did not. But he did mention that he won a karaoke contest.
Well, that's the fast track to stardom.
Of course.
Winning a local karaoke contest. So you've got this situation now, and you've confronted him, and all of a sudden these guys stop showing up. I'm guessing your first response is to try to call the guy up and ask him, hey, where are you? Now, this was when you said Eric had his heart attack, so of course everything goes on hold at that point, am I right?
Pretty much. I spent most of the time, in the beginning, I stayed at the hospital.
Yeah.
They released him. 11 days later, he had a stroke.
Oh, my goodness.
At that point, they couldn't do anything at the Mayo Hospital here. It's not like the Mayo Clinic. It's not related to them. It's just called the Mayo Hospital in Dover Foxcroft. They couldn't do anything for him. He had to go to Eastern Maine Medical Center. Actually, I'm sorry. No, he didn't. He went to St. Joseph's Hospital first, where they put in a defibrillator and pacemaker.
Hmm.
But throughout, in and out of the hospital, most of 2007.
Jesus.
Most of winter. So at that point, I would talk to him. I would go to the hospital. I'd sleep overnight, and then I'd come home and I'd feed my animals and so on and so forth. It was tough. It was tough because I didn't know if he was going to make it. I really didn't.
God bless you.
He even had to have speech therapy after the stroke, and he just snapped out of it for the most part. There was a change. There was a change in him. He had less patience later on.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
that, he could do, he found more difficulty doing. But he could still play guitar better than some of the ones that said they could play guitar.
There you go.
So, he was incredible. He made a decent recovery, but he was never 100%.
Yeah. To have both a heart attack and then a stroke in such close proximity, one to another, is
Yeah.
because that is tough. That is tough. So it was all of that. I mean, of course, that's enough for anybody. So. And then of course Lorne was off to Nashville that summer. But you mentioned going by the house. Now that was earlier, of course. After things settled down, I mean, did y'all ever have any occasion to call him or reach out and find out where are you? Why?
I'll tell you all about that. The one thing I wanted to say though, before we go any further, is that the house was not completed.
Yeah.
And Eric's in the hospital. And we talked, we found someone. The fellow with the key, he gave us the name of another guy. And the guy was building a school. So we had a crew come here, and a crew of 3 guys, sometimes just 2. And they finished everything. Everything. And his name, he's JDR Construction, and he's in St. Albans, Maine, and he's very, very good.
JDR, D as in David?
A as in John, D as in Dan, R as in Rudy.
JDR Construction.
Yeah, St. Albans, Maine.
St. Albans, Maine. So if you're in that area and you need that kind of work,
call that guy.
Call that guy. God bless him.
And I'll tell you why. Not to skip off the subject, but I do want to say this.
Sure.
I have notes here that, because you do know, I think most of the folks know, I did. It wasn't like we didn't try. We went to the DA's office. The DA contacted. They have a mediator. The man's name was Ian McKinnon. He told Mr. McKinnon that he definitely would pay us back. We agreed to take only $20,000, pay it back. We were giving him a break because he didn't have no way did he do $20,000 worth of work.
Yeah.
And he said he would, and of course he did not.
Yeah.
But I don't think did we touch on the part about the roof trusses that were already there?
Just briefly, but yeah, go ahead and tell that story that you said you had trusses already, and yeah, please tell us about that.
You can get roof trusses pre-built, which is what we did. The measurements were taken by the first fellow.
Right.
Lorne told us they wouldn't work. They were no good. They wouldn't work for what we wanted. So then he started giving me an estimate of how much it was going to cost to do it.
Now, he intended to build the new trusses himself, is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
So each one of these guys are getting supposedly $75 an hour, and it's going to cost them 2 hours to build. Well, let's see, I have...
Each one of his workers is getting $75 an hour?
That's what he said.
Holy smokes.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. 25 an hour. That's 75.
Yeah, times 3.
The
Sure.
hour for 3. Okay, I'm sorry. Scratch that. $75 per hour for labor. And he's telling us it's going to take 2 hours to build. 24 trusses and the labor equals $3,600. $200 each for material, $4,800. It comes down to, by the time it was all figured out, it was $8,400 to have the trusses made by him.
Yeah.
We paid $2,500 for the existing trusses we had delivered. And when JDR came in, JDR came in, they used those trusses. We're already there.
Yep. I mean, that's either, you know.
But I did want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can write that off as ineptitude or incompetence, but that to me sounds like that's the scam part, because I think we can all agree that that Lorne's part in all this represents a combination of incompetence and diabolical intentions, like he was looking for a scam. But that sounds more like, you know, we're leaning towards this is not the part of him that doesn't know what the hell he's doing. This is the part of him that knows exactly what he's doing, and he's trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah, there's also another man that was supposed to come here. This is in a handwritten note. Says received one half down, $1,700 for mudding, taping on Dexter Road in Cambridge, scheduled for the end of January. Ronald Grover. Ronald Grover, I have never met in my life. Ronald Grover never came to this house, but Ronald Grover, according to this, has $1,700 that we gave him.
So that money went through Lorne, I'm guessing. Lorne said...
unless Lorne made it up and, made up a name and signed it himself, or, who knows?
Yeah, it sounds a sock puppet that Lorne invented.
Yeah. And as far as the entire finished building, which was barely started, and that's inside finishing with the mudding, the taping, the sheetrocking, everything was maybe $3,200.
You're saying you think that's how much?
He wanted $60,000 to do what a guy did for 30. You might as well say for 30. Say it might have been 35,000. If he had done it from scratch. The second construction, but the real construction man.
Yeah.
The real construction
Did they?
man.
Not, he was. Lorne was way overpriced to begin with.
Right.
I lived in Rhode Island where everything's overpriced. So I just assumed that that's probably the going cost.
Yeah, and not only that, but you're not a builder. You're not
Not a builder and being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
With winter coming on, we wanted it done
Yeah.
yesterday.
Right.
So we didn't pay attention enough. We made a mistake, a big mistake.
Well, like we said, hindsight being 20/20, these aren't things that you look someone up in the phone book. You don't expect to hire a scammer.
That's kind of you to say so, but you're right. We just weren't. We should have thought it through a little more. But with everything that was going on, with Eric getting sick and all, everything that happened, and it was pretty much me that had to make decisions, because a lot of the time when they asked me a question, the real builders.
Yeah.
There's pseudo builders, and then there's the real builders. When the real builders asked me a question, Eric was usually in the hospital. He hadn't even seen how much work had been done here.
Yeah.
When I brought him home, I believe it was April. He was amazed that we actually had a house here, because it's not what he looked like when he came home, when he left.
Yeah.
Oh. They did wonderful. They painted it, everything. They did everything. They did it all for half of what Lorne wanted.
God bless him, and God bless him. I mean, I can't even imagine how much you had on your plate at that time, between Eric being in the hospital and I guess I'm assuming rehabilitating, and that's where your focus was, and then having to deal with the house on top of it. So we know that Lorne had this reputation at that time. I mean, it was something that you found out about in indirect ways and certainly understood later. And obviously we know his brother is involved, and his sister as well. It seems like I remember somebody mentioning something about a car scam involving his mother. Does that sound like something you know anything about?
I know of something. I'm not sure if it's accurate, though.
Okay.
I know that his mother sent a letter to a mechanic down the road.
Ah, okay. So this would have been in regard to his truck.
Said something about, and the fellow's father was also a mechanic. Something about how he did such a terrible job on spraying the motor or fixing the spray painting the motor. I don't know what it was. See, this is why it's so far.
Yeah. Understood.
She didn't want to pay for it, or she said he did the wrong. And I think she might have tried to sue him.
Interesting.
That might be what you're thinking of, but you might have heard. I'd like to, if you find out, let me know, because in the back of my mind, I remember something about his mother, too.
But it's vague, huh? It's blurry.
And saying something about the father that, and what was comical about the whole thing was that it was like many years prior to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
That actually happened, because the father said to me, yeah, she said something about I oversprayed the whatever, and I don't know. I think the whole family might be a little messed up.
I think you just nailed it. Now, I want you to talk, if you will, about this phone call. You told me that there was a point in time where Lorne called y'all and left a message, and I would love for you to recount that, because you told me the other day, and I thought it was fascinating, about this message that he left you guys after all of this had gone down, and he'd kind of skipped off and disappeared and stopped working on the house. Can you tell us about that phone call, about that message he left you?
Uh-huh. He was still here in Maine at the time. He was still living in the house. And there were a couple of times he called. I'm assuming he probably had a snoot full. And he would call, and not that I care. I like to tip back a few myself on occasion. So, I don't care. But when you start calling people's phone and you start saying things, it's not a good idea. Especially when he called that particular night, and he was crying on the phone, as he always did.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible for what I did. I know I owe you money. I want to be friends. I'd like to invite you to dinner, but all I have is a can of peas.
Damn.
I'm not making that up.
Pathetic.
That really happened. I have witnesses. Other people heard the message.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, I don't have that message anymore.
No, why would you...
Other people heard that message and guffawed, just like you did when they heard. I'm pretty sure it was peas, though.
Church members and Lornographers, if you're listening, that needs to be one of our new things that we say. All I got is a can of peas. I mean, the guy's obviously a drunk. I'm curious to know, do you think he ever showed up to work at your place drunk? I'm sure he showed up hungover.
He ever sobered up?
Yeah.
I think it was one continuous day for him.
Yeah. So, $30,500, that's what this jackass owes you. How much work would you say that he actually did? Or did the JDR folks ever make any kind of an estimate about how much value you actually got out of that?
And I never even asked that. I would say maybe $5,000, but not quality work.
Yeah.
But
Jesus
no way
Christ.
did did he deserve what he took from us. No way.
Shameful.
And no way did we deserve what he did to us.
Oh, God.
I mean, there was a point, and it was around Christmas time, and all the people that helped us, we gave them little gifts at Christmas time. In fact, I think the day that we went to his house, we had the little gift to give to him too.
Wow, do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I do. They were from Family Dollar, and they were misters. Do you know what those are?
I don't think so.
It's like a water fountain. It's a glass water fountain.
Oh, yeah.
It changes color.
Oh, sure.
I'm into that. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it mist, so the air, you get the mist in the air, and so we gave those to our mechanic and the people that helped us, and so we gave him one too.
Wow.
And
so we would really say 30,500 plus the cost of the mister. We're gonna rescind that gift, and we're just gonna.
That to the mechanic. Oh well, he wouldn't have known. He would have never got it, would he?
Yeah. I bet you, Base Shaman or somebody with the eye for it is going to look at one of the pictures of Lorne's apartment and identify it in that box of stuff that was always in the background. Okay, I want to jump ahead a little bit. So we're in the summer now. Eric's back home. You've got the house done now by competent builders, and Lorne is in Nashville, or we assume on his way, and this and that. A little time passes. The Holy Crucifixion took place in October on his birthday. When did you find out that this had happened? That Lorne had been busted? I'm off the top of my head. I'm not mindful of when the show actually aired. I know it was sometime the next year.
I don't know, but I'll tell you. Steve. We were looking for him, and the fellow down the street told us. And the reason, folks, that I'm saying the fellow down the street is because I really don't want to get anybody people's names involved.
Sure.
But the fellow down the street told us that he had moved to Nashville. That's when we first heard it. And we did get a phone call from him, and he was crying.
Of course.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
What a
He was
bitch.
crying, and he said, as soon as I get myself situated, I'm going to start sending you $100. Well, you know why that was because he had talked to Mr. McKinnon from DA's office, so naturally he's going to try to make it look like he's going to make good on restitution.
Right.
But, of course, that never happened.
You never saw any money.
Never saw a dime.
Yeah.
So, I think it probably was maybe a week after he got busted in the sting that
you heard about it?
yeah, I don't have TV.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you.
Like I said, there's no cable here in town. I had satellite for internet service, and it was awful.
Yeah.
And I used to tell them I had Hughes.net. Nope, you get Hughes.net. If you live in a hole, I live in a hollow.
Yeah.
I'm away from the road. I'm far down. You've seen where I live. You've seen the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So try to imagine a satellite picking up anything in that area.
Yeah.
It was awful.
And especially back 10 years ago too, 8, 9,
Right.
10 years ago. Yeah, it would have been even
awful.
worse. So you heard around town. You heard from the talk
Yeah.
on the streets.
So we found out about it. Now, of course, I've always had an internet connection, and we were able to watch to Catch a Predator on the internet, where we saw him in all his glory, and the fellow down the street told us about it. He said, "Where do you see it? Your boy, where do you see your boy?" Right?
Wow.
And Eric smiled. It did his heart good to see that.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear.
He was happy.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yeah.
And we said, it karma bit you, didn't it? You can screw people so long, and eventually something's going to get you.
Mm-hmm. So you found out from our buddy down the road, and you saw it for yourself. And thank God it did Eric some good. And it was I mean, I can't even imagine how edifying it would have been for y'all just to see this guy that had put you through so much heartache and to pull the garbage that he'd pulled. And of course, by that time, you knew that he had done this to others, and you weren't his only victims. To see him get his comeuppance that way, was it something that was talked about around town? I mean, you heard from our buddy down the road. You saw, no. You didn't hear from this one or that one that talking about. Oh man, did you see that Armstrong guy?
No, and I think the reason he was a native boy. I don't think anybody wanted to actually say he comes from this town.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's understandable.
Now, the fellow that told me certainly comes from this town, and he had no problem with it. But the older folks.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a.
He didn't want it. It's not a good impression.
No.
To say this guy comes from. I mean, I'll bet they were very happy when it said Catch a Predator listed him as a Nashville resident and not actually from Cambridge.
Amen.
Because, I mean, we're kind of like the Bible Belt here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how I ended up here, but I did. No, really, the place that we bought, like I said, there was nothing here, but Eric and I both grew up rural, and where we were and where we had been living in different, even before we were together, was too many people.
Yeah.
We were. And this reminded me and Eric, even though he grew up in rural Connecticut and I grew up in rural Rhode Island, reminded us of our childhood where we grew up. And we had fireflies and, things that you didn't see anymore.
Yeah.
And so we fell in love with the property, and that's why we ended up
Yeah.
So after all that went down, the bit about him on the show, and now you know where he's at, and he's in jail, and you guys wrote him a letter. Is that right?
Yes.
Welcome.
And the letter had contents which stated, you really caused us a lot of problems. A whole lot of problems.
What?
A whole lot.
Well done.
Because, we weren't rich. We had what we thought was going to be enough to keep us to build our little dream home. Nothing extravagant. Just build on to what we had.
Yeah.
Have our little secluded piece of earth and be happy here. And he took that away from us because we couldn't do the things we really wanted to do because money got tight. I mean, it's like opening up the window and throwing out $30,000.
Yeah.
Who can do that?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the letter, the content said, you have caused us a world of grief, and I did add into the letter. Well, Lorne, you decided you weren't going to pay us back, and you thought you were going to walk away free. But look what happened. Karma got you. Karma got you.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
He wrote back, and his letter said, Eric and Betty, just to let you know, yeah, I got your letter. That was it.
Unbelievable.
And haven't heard from him since.
Unfucking believable.
Yeah, we're looking at the letter now, and it's dated November 17th of the following year. And we have to wonder about his motivation writing this, as if, is he saying, hey, on some level he knew what he was doing was wrong. And I want to talk just a little bit because, you made reference to your efforts to get restitution, and unfortunately, we've had a few people who I hope mean well that were critical of that. But your hands were kind of tied. I mean, there wasn't anything you could have done. Was there, in terms of? I mean, you talked to the DA, and
Talked to the DA. Talked to a couple of lawyers. One wanted $1,000, another wanted $2,000, and each lawyer said to us, you know, you can take him to court, but you're not going to get anything. He has nothing.
yeah,
And I also contacted. It was a Portland TV station, WGME. It was a series called On Your Side, and we wrote to them. You know, it's funny what you were saying about how much do we actually get out of him for work.
yeah.
I haven't really looked at this stuff in so long. We do have a signed contract as well as receipts, which clearly look altered, and even if they weren't, only add up to the vicinity of $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on the money on that. But they call us. This is something where they will expose the people that are scamming people. This is what it's for, On Your Side. Unfortunately, it was just at the time he got busted, and I explained to them that he got busted for that and for a pedophile in another state, and they said, "Oh, we can't touch it. We can't do anything." It was some kind of legality that they couldn't do anything. They were willing to come up here and interview us.
Wow.
Portland, but Portland is like a couple hours, two and a half hour ride from there.
Yeah, but they couldn't. They wouldn't do it because he was.
They couldn't do it, no, because there was another.
He was implicated in another crime in another
No.
state. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's some kind of
Like jurisdiction parameters they can't violate. Yeah. Now that makes. I mean that's.
And I talked to people in Bowling Green. This isn't like I didn't do anything. I was a guest list on the Bowling Green Police Department.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote to them. I spoke to a warden there. I mean, he didn't really have nobody. They can't say much.
Yeah.
But they spoke volumes. If that explains anything.
Interesting. Yeah. Can you elaborate on that a little?
When I explained to them what he had done and why we were looking for him, they weren't surprised.
Okay.
You know, I mean, in that kind of business, they can't say anything because there's legality after
Right.
legality.
Confidentiality laws and whatnot.
So yeah. So but I remember one of them was like, you know, and well, I hope you can get. She had a cute little southern accent, and she said, "Well, I hope you get your just rewards. I hope you get your situation straightened out with him."
Yeah. Interesting. So, and this was.
It wasn't like we didn't pursue it. We did.
Yeah.
But we hit stonewall after stonewall.
Yeah, well, it's like you said. There's not much you can. What's frustrating, and I have to. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So even those out there that were critical of your actions, it's so easy to be critical of something like that from a distance and not knowing all of the details. But I have to hope that people's intentions are good there, that they're just saying, well, we're frustrated on your behalf. Obviously, we wish that the whole thing had been brought to completion and brought to justice. Like we talked about earlier, you're putting it together after the fact. And when you're able to sort of look back and ruminate on everything that's happened and connect the dots, so to speak, obviously, if you had it to do all over again, there's a whole bunch of things you would have done differently. To begin with, it sounds to me like that business needed to be investigated and his brother needed to be investigated, and who knows how much deeper it went than that. But obviously, this is was a machine with a lot of moving parts. That money went somewhere, and even if Lorne didn't have it or it wasn't in his name, it was somewhere. These aren't connections you make until you're able to look back on it some, and by then, we have this thing called the statute of limitations, which you've
That's right.
covered already. I mean, you don't have an unlimited. Unfortunately, we don't have an unlimited amount of time to pursue these sorts of things, and there's just so much you can do, and beyond all that, Eric had health issues. It's not like you weren't dealing with something that was infinitely more urgent at that time anyway. It's not like y'all are just sitting around with nothing to do except to sue people that don't have any money to pay you.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing was, like, another thing that was for me, which was what really set me back, was when Eric passed, we didn't have insurances. We didn't have life insurance because we couldn't do anything. We didn't have the money. We were trying to get our house built. I had insurance when I was a kid, and then something happened, and some insurance man talked me into doing something else with it, and I ended up like having only 200 after paying in all those years. I had ended up with a policy that was worth like $265. So I got screwed on that deal. But Eric didn't have any life insurance.
Yeah.
So I maxed out my credit card. I am still paying. That's what's killing me. Is
the credit cards.
My credit card debt. I'm above water.
Yeah.
I'm not. Again, like I say, I'm living indoors.
Yeah.
But I'm not living luxuriously, which I didn't want to anyway, or I wouldn't have moved here. I wanted to live this way.
Yeah.
But I always like to have a little cushion.
Right.
In
Absolutely.
case, like last year, my pipes froze. I had to replace the holding tank, the water holding tank, and the pipe, and the tape, the electric tape. So that set me back a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been lucky. There were people from the club that put on benefits for me. I wasn't used to that because I was the one that was always Eric and I and Captain Mike. We'd be hauling in our equipment to play for somebody else that was in trouble.
Yeah.
To raise funds for them, and then suddenly it turned out to be me.
Yeah.
And they were there for me. And I told you this, and I started to miss stuff then, and I'm starting to miss stuff now. But so if you are a good person, good things will happen for you eventually. So keep that in mind, folks. Somebody's going to screw you, but
someone else will.
Good.
Yeah.
Don't stoop to be that type of person.
Absolutely. Well, I continue to believe that the best is still ahead for you, and I know that it's not easy, and I in some small way I hope that the good Lornographers, those of us who consider ourselves on your side, we feel that way too. For those of y'all that don't know, I'm taking a road trip to Maine. I'm going to party with Betty. And we've got some big plans. It's going to be awesome. And
We're going to go have breakfast in Canaan.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say, should we happen to be driving around late one night and the light is not so good and we see a lump on the road and that lump has a bald spot and a ratty gray T-shirt now. I'm wondering if that's, everyone's talking about, he put a gray T-shirt on this time. I'm wondering if he just washed that blue T-shirt so many times he washed all the color out of it.
No, I don't think so, because
No.
if you look at the neck, I'm looking at it right now. I put that picture up on my big screen here on my computer. The neckline looks like it's been stretched out and frayed, and
Yeah. We always
it looks
wonder
like
about
something
what.
you'd throw away, or used for a dusting cloth without the ball cap. So he needs the ball cap on. They should let him take the picture with the ball cap.
But I agree. We would certainly love to see what cap he's wearing now, and if he's still wearing the B cap. But the thing is, it's so you just know that he hates taking that cap off, and it's so humiliating for him to own his baldness. So from that perspective, I like that he's got to take it without the hat on, because it just kills him.
And there we go with my Eric. My Eric was bald, and not completely, like Lorne here, the top.
Yeah.
And he would say, "Does it bother you?" And I say, "No, not at all. It doesn't bother me." But But Lorne bothers me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about the accents before. It's the difference
Take a magic
between
marker and put a big L on the top of that head. Yeah.
who would want to touch his head though. Ugh. No, it's the difference between.
You throw the marker away. You don't. You
Yeah,
those
exactly.
big, those great big ones. They're really long. They're like about a foot long. And you send back. And you wear one of those surgical masks, and then you put the L on, and then you back away.
I'm just not sure.
I wonder, Pope Sam. I'm sorry. Your Royal Highness.
Yes. Yes. Observe decorum at all times,
Royal
please.
Holiness.
I will give you Hail Lorns to say in penance if you don't.
I wonder if the Boston Red Sox got in touch with us and said, please don't wear those hats.
Yeah. Let's move ahead a little bit. Eric passed in December of 2011, so
Yes.
you've just you're coming up on just over 4 years now, and my heart breaks for you.
Actually, my fifth Christmas without him because he died 10 days before Christmas.
Oh, I see. Okay. So 2012 comes along. I believe that's when Lorne was released. Have you ever, I mean, has there ever been any talk, any scuttlebutt around town about this guy? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about it the other day, and we all know, just whatever the sex offender webpage tells us and this and that. But, I mean, have you ever heard anything since then about him or his family, what they're up to now? People see him around or anything?
No, not a word. Not a word. Nobody talks about him.
Yeah.
Again, I think they don't. Native Son kind of made a big disappointment to this town, so
Yeah.
they probably, if they are talking, they're not talking to me about it.
I want to ask you real quick. Obviously, the Book of Durango was compiled using the material that you gave to Eloise. I'd like to ask, how did you come in contact with Eloise to give her that material? How did that friendship strike up? Did she contact you? I mean, y'all came together after the church really started to grow?
I think when I started seeing the Church of Cord, I started reading the stuff, and I don't know who contacted who first.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably commented to each other, and then she got in touch with me, private messages, and we talked about it. And she said, I'll tell you how it did start. Was when Charmin did that comment on his video about Durango mangoes tricking you and believing, and that really infuriated me, and I got angry, and I left some comments there, and
yeah, we remember.
and he said I didn't know it was him. Had I known it was him, I would have went along with it.
Yeah.
Or I would have said, "Oh no, she can't be," or whatever. But I mean, this is not true. But I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, no.
I really believed that it was someone who knew him. I figured in my mind, I thought that it was probably a family member that wrote all that. That put on that video. I had no idea it was Base Shaman. And then I know he felt bad because he sent out a apology.
Yeah.
But then it was, I'd already spieled off, and I had already said the things I said. And that's when that other lady said, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And you say you killed your husband. You didn't kill your husband. Well,
terrible. No,
lady, whoever you are, you go on believing what you believe. But I remember my husband before one, and I remember him after one.
The garbage.
He didn't put a gun and pull the trigger. He didn't put a gun to his head and pull the trigger. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but
no.
He didn't put a gun to his head and pull the trigger on him. But he sure in hell didn't help.
Those are the kinds of things that can push people over the edge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether we can make a direct correlation or not, just like you said, it didn't help. I would say, I think I can speak for Shaman, and of course you acknowledge that you know that he didn't. You don't think that he meant any harm.
He wasn't being malicious. No, he was just trying to have a little fun with it. And
yeah.
and I took it to another level, and then, that's where it...
Well, your reaction was completely understandable, and I think he would agree with me if he were here. And I know that he would extend his apologies for making you feel bad, because that wasn't his intention. But you were totally.
I like him, and I love his videos. And then when I first saw him with the mask,
yeah.
I wonder, what is this guy doing? And then I saw the baseball cap, and then and the shirt. He had the T-shirt on, and then I thought, oh, wait a minute, that mask is supposed to look like Lorne. And the more I see him in that outfit, the more I think he does look like Lorne.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost impossible not to think of Shaman's version of Lorne a little bit, isn't it? When we think of Lorne now.
Oh God! Oh God!
Yeah. He does a dead-on impression.
Yeah.
So, as a last, as we bring our time here to a close, what is Durango Mango up to today? You think you might want to get out there and play a little music at some point in the future? Will Durango Mango live on?
I'm trying to keep it alive, and I do have a web page. I have a website, www.durangomango.com,
which we will link to.
It isn't up to date, but there are covers, and it's in the section that says they're like buttons, like you have on your shirt, and each one has 2 songs, and they're called music rooms. And but there's some songs on there that we did together, and that's at the website. That's all on that site, but like I say, it's not updated, but there is music there.
Okay.
There is also a Facebook page, Durango Mango. And I noticed that a lot of the Lornographers have subscribed to that page, have given it a like, and I really, really appreciate it, because it's keeping the Durango Mango name alive until I can find somebody who's going to want to play with me and Mike and Kenny, if they can, or if I get someone up here. I'm looking, my friends are down in southern New England. I'm up here in northern New England. So I really need somebody who's going to be up in this area too, so that I can get out there. I am out there doing benefits,
yeah, when you can.
When I can, I get out and do benefits, just as a guest spot, because I have a band around me.
Yeah.
So if anybody, if the Lornographers would like my page, Durango Mango, I'd appreciate it on Facebook. Yeah,
we're going to put links to all of those pages in the video and down in the information section. And yes, please, if you haven't checked out their music, please do so. You'll enjoy it. And give that Facebook page a like and share the word, spread the word.
I do want to ask you, though, please don't list any of the Lorne stuff, some of that stuff can get pretty raunchy.
Yeah, let's keep that.
Mango, I don't care if you put it on my page.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
But on the Durango Mango page, that's pretty much to keep the name alive, and
yeah, absolutely.
Let's keep it as Durango Mango.
Let's keep that page Lorne free. We don't.
Free.
Yeah, that's a happy place. As free as his hairline, or lack of it.
Lack of a hairline.
Yeah, let's.
You and I will have to collaborate on that. We'll have to move the song.
Oh no, you want someone who can sing in tune, and also who you don't want to hit in the face with a brick. So that disqualifies Lorne. Check out that page. Let's keep it happy. It's a happy place, so that means it's a Lorne-free place. But
and you can go on there and just look up Durango Mango on Facebook, and you can see it up close.
Get a better look at it. Because
look at it.
She wants to show you.
Have you ever heard of a band called Durango Mango?
Oh, that is a perfect exit point, because we didn't even talk about that, and I'm so glad you said that, because we've got one more story that I would love for you to share with us. This is amazing. As you know, because we talked about this the other day, as you know, a video of the tribute, which is the Beatles cover band that Lorne was selling tickets to, we actually unearthed, I believe it was Ember who did it, Ember Infierno, High Priestess of the COCLDL, unearthed a video of the very concert that Lorne was selling tickets to. You and Eric, you met them, you spent time with them.
We used to go to, when we were in Rhode Island and we were working at the radio station, there's a beautiful, beautiful old theater called the Stadium Theater. They have a website. If you want to see a really pretty place, go to the Stadium Theater and look at their interior. They've done restoration, and it's gorgeous. I went there when I was like 12 years old. I used to go to the matinees, and because I lived in North Smithfield, and Woonsocket was just that was the big city for us, which isn't a city at all. Well, it is, but it isn't. Anyway, we went to see these guys perform quite a few times, and what Lorne says about them is true. They did play for Carnegie Hall. They did play for the Queen. These are fellows from Ohio, and they're an incredible lot. Fellow that we knew was running sound, and he came up and said, "Hey, you want to meet the guys?" And we said, "Sure, that'd be nice, yeah." And they were the nicest people, and they lost that accent. They dropped the accent and talked like they did when they were in Ohio. They come from Ohio. And unfortunately, one of the fellows that we met, Gary Grimes, who was portraying Paul, he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that are playing currently, except for Mark, and I, again, can't remember his last name, the fellow that plays John, he's an original member. They're different from the ones that we met, but they were all just very, very nice guys.
Right.
And it was ironic because I'm saying, I think it was you, I said why would he be selling tickets? These guys don't need anybody to hawk their tickets.
Yeah, they're legit. The real deal.
Well known.
Yeah.
And then turns out that he
Have
was
you ever
working
heard of
for
the
a call
Beatles?
center or something.
Somebody hired that call center, the fire department, or the Firemen's Benefit Association there in Nashville hired that company to sell tickets, and the tribute was the act that they booked, for the benefit concert. But it's such a crazy coincidence in such a small world that.
Oh, really? And when we were talking to them again, and it was Gary was singing a song, and it had happened that he had lost his breath. And he said, "That has never happened to me ever." And he was like, and I said, "You know what? You pulled it off with a plum. It was just fine."
Yeah.
But here's this incredible musician say, "Oh man, I'm so sorry I made that mistake." And I'm like, "Who cares? You were awesome."
Yeah.
And then our friend Ken had longish hair at the time, and he's standing there, and Mark said, "Wow, this guy doesn't even." I said, "This guy could be one of us. Look at his hair." And Eric took off his hat at that moment, and he said, "Well, I can't. Because he's bald, right?" And Mark said, "Well, don't worry, because if I wasn't wearing this wig, I couldn't play this part either." I mean, they were just really great guys. But yeah, so whenever I heard him say, "Have you ever heard of the Beatles?"
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, he's talking about 64, the tribute, but why is he selling tickets? So now we know why. Okay.
Yeah, that's a cool.
We've had some really good times with the music, Durango Mango. In fact, I think Eric's biggest deal was that he got a chance to play with Johnny Paycheck's band on the stage with them.
Really?
They actually went to see them. The story goes, this is before I knew him, but he had a great memory I'd like to share.
Yeah.
So he was always excited when he talked about it. He said they were playing, the band he was with was playing somewhere that night, and they went to see Johnny Paycheck during the day, and they started talking to them. And they said, "Oh, come on down and listen to us play." And they said, "Yeah, sure we will." And they said, "Yeah, sure they will." And they did. And they all drank together and partied together. And at the end of the night, the bass player from Johnny Paycheck's band took Eric's guitar and cranked it all the way up and started playing, and they were all on the stage together.
That is bad to the bone. That is
he
cool.
He didn't tell it often, though. He was, again, like I say, it was just, you could see him light up with that memory, though. He loved that memory.
Well,
that's what we did. I mean, those were our high points, and but I do want to keep Durango Mango alive. I definitely do, and I'm going to hang in there and hope. I still have the equipment. I still have all the PAs and the mains and the things I need.
Yeah.
I don't like carrying them around, but I got them. I can't tell you how much gratitude I have for you folks that are making these comments and these videos, and I sit there with my coffee because I usually look in the morning. If it was night, I might have a beer or a bourbon, maybe.
Hell yeah!
I haven't had. I need a bourbon. I haven't had any in a while. So, but I do. I sit there and I'm sipping my coffee, and sometimes I pass it through my nose because I guffaw, I laugh at the lengths that you folks go through to make these videos, or even just the comments that are hilarious. Somebody will just deadpan something like, "Would you like to see it up close?" That's all it takes. Yeah. That's all it takes, and it makes me laugh. And I thank the Lorneographers from the bottom of my heart that I'm glad that everybody else sees who this loser really is. And I thank you, because I'm not alone. I'm not alone anymore. Other people know he's a piece of crap.
Amen, sister.
Thank you.
Well, I know that you just made a whole lot of people's day by saying that, and all the folks out there that participate the way we do, I know that you just really gave them a high praise compliment by saying that, and hope.
I mean, there's so many. I can't even. I don't even know everybody by name. Of course, Eloise, Bass Sharman, Pix,
Crank Cinema.
Yeah. You, of course.
Nathaniel.
Nathaniel is hilarious.
Yeah, it's a neat community. It really is.
Many people that do, and who is the one? I see it in my mind, and it's still making me laugh. Where he drives the truck into the tree and he goes flying out of the window. And his legs are wiggling. Who did that?
I believe that was Crank Cinema.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. To Catch a Codfish is another one who needs to be chatted.
Codfish, that's another one. Yes.
And then Candid.
I know there's others, and I'm sorry if I can't remember who it was.
No, this is one of those like
all of you are just incredibly funny.
Candid Fellow with the prank phone calls is good.
Yep. And then you have the girls, the singing, the
Ember, and
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just great. They're wonderful.
Well, I know.
I can close my eyes and see those little legs flapping in the air. Oh, and then there was one about the clone.
Yeah, that was Crank also. That was one of Crank's
works. Oh, my
works.
God, that was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I thought that was hilarious. Was that actually... That's another thing. I have a question quickly. In the interview, you know how they have the camera in the interrogation room? It seemed to me that somebody made his head shine.
Yeah, I'll take credit for that. Yeah, I did that in the crying video where I put all the crying together. Yeah, I added a lens flare on top of his head just to draw attention to the shininess of his baldness. Yeah, that was me. I did it in the. Yeah.
That was hilarious. That was ingenious.
Thank you.
That was terrific.
Thank you. I will take a bow for that.
You're the one that's crying, right?
Yeah, Lorne Armstrong crying. That's the video. And I also added. I did one.
Teardrops.
Yeah, I
That
did
was
the.
my favorite part. The teardrops coming out.
I was proud of that. Obviously, that's
So, that was awesome.
obviously that
That was
doesn't.
another time when I was sitting in front of the screen and tears were coming down my eyes. I was laughing so hard.
Oh, can you
I had tears, but they were tears of joy.
Tears of joy. How joyous would it be if we could actually see Lorne's tears?
No.
Because, that would.
I heard them just before I was invited for a can of peas.
Yeah. He's probably sitting here listening to the interview saying, I wish I had that can of peas right now. Because I would be impressed if he could afford a can of peas at this very moment.
I don't know. Well, he's working, I guess.
Yeah, but he's, the only reason he's working is because he's got to buy postage so he can send his latest lawsuit off, paperwork for his latest lawsuit off.
That's a scream in itself.
Well, I really believe that your efforts and your honesty over the years, and I mean right up to this present moment, are going to help somebody. They'll go some distance toward informing other people and saving others from suffering at the hands of him and his brother and their wickedness. And so from them, from anyone, on behalf of anyone who I know this information is going to help, I want to thank you, and just thank you again for spending time talking to us, man. This has been really, really great, and you're a treasure, and we're so lucky to have you and know you. And I know that I speak unequivocally when I say that all of Lorneography loves you.
Well, thank you, and it's right back at all of you too. Believe me.
Well, on that end, folks, we are going to wrap up this special edition of Conversations. My thanks again to Betty, to Miss Durango Mango. Follow the links in this video and in the description below to read more about the band Durango Mango, or just drop Betty a line and say, hey. Remember, keep all the Lorne stuff off the Durango Mango page. But check them out for yourself, and also check out the Book of Durango for yourself. All the evidence is there, and it's incontrovertible. Lorne, if you're listening, I hope this was painful and embarrassing for you. And
God bless everyone.
God bless us, everyone. That's right. This is just another reminder to the world of what you truly are, and another reminder that you will never outrun or outlive who you are and what you've done.
And what was it? How many people are not Lorne?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we say that now to the rest of you. Go safe, be well, and take heart, for you are not Lorne Armstrong. We close today with a song written and recorded by Betty and Eric's dear friend Kenny to honor Eric's memory. Follow the link below to check out more of Kenny's music.